Showtime. What you mean? There ain't no error. It's right. We right on time.
Ladies and gentlemen, I see it live on mine. You
Boys
see it
and
live on
girls.
yours?
I see
You
live.
see it live on yours? I see it live. You know what I'm
I
doing? You know why
do.
I'm looking down? Take a wild guess why I'm
What?
looking down.
Hmm.
Take a
Is there
wild
some
guess why I
sharing
might be
going on
looking
over
down right
there?
now.
I think there
Sharing
might be
is
some
caring. If you
sharing.
care, you
Yes.
share. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and I have to
Hey,
apologize since I
because
haven't figured out to add you on here so you can just go straight to your thing.
I know what's up with that, dude.
uh,
What's up with that,
I don't
man?
know.
That ain't cool.
Figure it out.
Hey, if you
Hey,
don't
who?
know now, you know I am Kirk M. Samuels,
That's right. And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
and we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right, baby. We're just real men having real conversations for you. And guess what? Tonight, it's all about the men, baby. We're talking
Yeah,
to
yeah,
you,
yeah.
buddy. We're
Sometimes we
talking to our
talk four
men's.
men. Sometimes we talk two men. We don't want to abandon the whole idea of the leveling up of men.
Mm.
I think that's very important. And so, so this is one of those where, this is a shareable one because I mean,
Yes.
this is an encouraging topic. This is a challenging topic. This is one of those ones where we as men, collectively, man, the level up process. This could be very well the level up generation of men, man, where we
Yes.
pivot things. We come out of the dark ages of quote unquote toxic masculinity, which is debatable in the term itself. But either way, come out of that stigma into whatever it is, the enlightened masculinity, the
Yep.
next gen masculinity, where it's time for us to change the world, man. So we're gonna talk about purpose.
Yes, sir. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're definitely the informed generation now because ignorance is a choice nowadays with all the
Yeah,
information out there. And
yeah,
since we have the information, we can actually look at our lives and say, well, where am I lacking? Where are my tires flat? What do I need to look at? And for a lot of us, purpose is probably the number one thing we need to look at because a man without
yeah,
purpose is, a ship without a rudder. You're just
yeah.
floating, going with the breeze and the tide.
Mm-hmm. And so the cool thing is, even though we're talking primarily to men, there's always something to glean for women. Glean, glean. Remember that? Hey, I'm still on that
That's the
word,
word.
man.
It's the word of the
Yeah,
word
that's
for
the word.
today.
The word of the week is
The word of the week
glean.
is glean.
Yeah.
I always
Uh
when you
huh.
see glean, I always think of those toothpaste commercials with the tooth that goes bling.
Is that wasn't there? There
Like,
was a toothpaste commercial. What is a toothpaste called something like that?
yeah,
I don't know,
glean.
man.
I don't
It
know.
was I
Squirrel.
don't know, man. Whatever. Yeah, squirrel. So yeah, man. So even though we're talking to men primarily, there's always something for the ladies to pick up, something for the ladies to glean,
We're
something
not
for
gonna
the
forget about you,
ladies to,
ladies.
keep the meat, spit out the bones, kind of thing. And so, and that being said, if you're watching us live, as opposed to on the interwebs everywhere, if you're watching us live, you can go to the Mad Men of Masculinity page, hashtag Mad Men Radio on Facebook.
I think. Yeah, I think it's Mad
Is
Men
not
Radio now.
hashtag, but at Mad Men Radio on Facebook. But I think if you search Mad Men of Masculinity, it also comes up. But either way,
Yeah.
if you go there and if you type, if you comment there as we're live, we'll make you famous. We'll put you on the screen. We want to hear your feedback. We want to hear your opinions, whether you agree or disagree, whether you think we cray, whether you think we need to go somewhere to sit down, whether you want us to go get the switch off the tree, you want to
There
whoop
you go.
us.
Just click the link.
Boom. See, boom, man, he is
Oh, you
all
want to whoop
over
me,
it, dude.
baby? Man, you
Oh,
want to
you
whoop me?
gotta you
Come
gotta put it on
on.
the screen. No, you can put it on the screen.
Oh man, see why?
Yeah, you gotta
Why?
add it to the stream.
Well,
Boom.
why you
See,
gotta
see,
call
you
me out
see,
like that?
see. That's how he does things, man. JBK is on it. Anyhow, so yeah, if you comment on that, man, we can, we can hear and see you, and we can get your feedback and all those kinds of things, man. So,
So yeah, so enough jibber jabber. Let's get into the meat.
yeah,
Let's do
purpose, man,
this.
purpose.
So give me the
My
rundown on
so
purpose
here,
for
so
for
here,
for
here's
you as a man who
yeah,
works on purpose. Give me the
yeah.
rundown.
Here's my I'm getting a comment here saying I look a little bit fuzzy and Jason keeps freezing or whatever. Maybe I look fuzzy and freezing. I'm just kind of that way. So forgive me. I got a bootleg out of somebody's trunk internet. I'm working
I
on
told
that.
you about using your neighbor's Wi-Fi for this.
Yeah, see, that's the problem. I'm using my neighbor like two buildings over, like two houses over. I'm stealing somebody's. Anyhow, but
Bear
I'm
with
working
us.
on that thing, so bear with me, and hopefully it ain't too bad. Hopefully it fixes itself and all that kind of stuff. But anyhow, purpose, man. I really believe in purpose. I believe it is our why, and I believe it is, the why. That's the question for us of why. I think well, not I think, is scientific kind of fact that women, females, have two X chromosomes. They are the multipliers of population, the multipliers of a whole lot of things, the up factors. Men have an X and a Y chromosome. So what makes us a man is our Y embedded in our DNA. And so if we're not living our why, we're not living the fullest potential of what it is to be a man, what it is to be a masculine man. I don't care if somebody goes under the knife and they become a man or they whatever. You can't replace the fact that Y chromosome is there for those of us that are wired that way in the womb, and so purpose is important, man. That is our why, and us as men, man,
Mhm.
we gotta live that why.
Yeah. And let's break down why purpose is so important because I know from my experience, pretty much for the first 30, 40 years of my life, without really understanding what my purpose was and where it came from and where I was going, I was just kind of lost and didn't really have much gumption in life and energy and get up and go because I just felt like, oh, all I'm doing is working and paying bills and sleeping and eating and then getting up and doing it again. And wasn't until really getting this show, starting doing this podcast and working on masculine issues. And for me, it was looking back at my past to find my purpose and realize like what was sacred to me. What's the thing that I would want to change in the world? What's my niche, or what's the thing that inspires and empowers me? And for me, it was the father son relationship. My father and I never really had the relationship we both wanted because we didn't have the skills or the tools or the teachings to generate that relationship. And so for me, that's what really gets me going. And then joining with Kirk and his purpose and doing this has really fired us up to really be in our purpose and teamwork and in brotherhood to do this. And so to find your why, to find your purpose, a lot of times you have to look back. Look back at your childhood, look back at your traumas, look how you grew up, and look at the things in the world that you would change. Like something that you in the world, you're like, if it strikes you, if it touches your heart, maybe that's the thing that is your purpose and your why. And it doesn't have to be world changing. You don't got to be Elon Musk and try to go to Mars or whoever else and try to save the rainforest. It could just be the best dad you can be. Maybe it's rescue puppies. Maybe it's adopt a kid. Maybe it's start your business. Whatever it is, but that whatever your purpose is, that's the fuel to your engine. That's the fuel to your fire. That's going to keep you going. That's going to be the bedrock and foundation of your castle of that you build
Mhm.
on, so that you have that strong foundation so that you can stand up to the storms of the world and all the challenges that come into being just a man in the world today.
Yeah. If a man is living without purpose, if he's not living on purpose and in purpose, he's going to find a way to medicate that. That's going to create a hole in his heart. That's going to create a why am I here kind of question in his mind and in his soul and in his spirit on a daily basis. And it begins to grind on you. It begins to wear on you. It begins to make you just question life. Like why should I even live tomorrow? And when you have that hole, when you have that Y-shaped hole in your soul, you will try to fill that with something, whether it's work, whether it's women, or what's in women's Y, if you know what I'm talking about, upside down Y. I mean, you'll find that in some sort of addiction. In my case, absolutely, I tried to fill that in addiction for 30 of the first 40 years of my life, where I had a career, I had family, I had wife, kids, I had all those kinds of things, but I didn't have my why. And why did I beat out 40 million sperm that day or that night? Or I don't know. I don't want to ask my mom. I don't even want to know what time of day it was. But anyhow, because that gets kind of creepy. Um, uh, we'll bring my mom on here. No, we won't. But
No,
anyhow,
let's leave your mom out of it.
yeah, let's leave my mom out of this for sure, especially out of that. But
Yeah.
why did I beat out 40 million sperm? The odds of being born are like 1 in 400 trillion, right? So
Yep.
why did I make it? Like, why am I here? I didn't have that. And it's not until I found that I was able to repurpose that space that I dedicated towards addiction, that I dedicated towards just the emptiness of life, and actually do something and say, okay, maybe I can help solve that problem for one person.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many men out there, and I resemble that because that's how I spent most of my life. Was just kind of like, why am I here? I don't really. I'm just floating along. I'm just doing these things. And for a lot of guys our age in their 30s and 40s, you're hitting that kind of midlife thing where you're going, well, I did all the stuff I was supposed to do, and now I don't feel fulfilled. I don't feel any fire in my belly. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know what feeds me, and it's time
Mhm.
to make finding your purpose your priority, and
Yeah.
that may be finding something to build, that may be finding something to create, that may be finding a group to join. But I guarantee you, if you get around men who have purpose and find a group of men who have purpose, you will definitely find your purpose, or you will definitely be in the right group and mindset to be around those guys who will help you find your purpose. Because if you're with
Yeah.
around purpose minded men who are on a mission, who are you were going to feel so left out and so just like, damn, these dudes are giants, they're all energized, they're all
Mm-hmm.
superheroes, and I'm just over here
Mm-hmm.
Clark Kentting it. I need to get
Yeah.
my poop in the group and get going. So
Yeah.
maybe if you are struggling with that and you're not quite sure, if you're just going to work every day just on the hamster wheel and just grinding it out, maybe it's time to say, you know what, I'm here for a reason. I mean, there's 16 billion possible amalgamations of people. Like they're for as far as the mathematics go of human beings, there's 8.5 billion on the planet, but there's 16 billion possibilities. And so you're one of a kind. Whoever you are, you're one of a kind, and your purpose is one of a kind, and you can find it. It may take some work, it may take some digging, but once you find that, that's your rocket fuel. That's going to get you fired up and get you out of bed in the morning.
And there's individual purpose, and like to a point you just made, there's also collective purpose, right there.
Mm.
There's a why. There's getting in that space amongst other wolves that are living in purpose, and that's why we do stuff with B Men. That's why we spend time together. A good amount of it, and we'll be out there again this weekend, Sunday
Mm.
morning. Hit 9 holes. But anyhow, but the holes, by the way, holes, not anyhow. Yeah,
You have to get off that
holes,
topic.
HOLES, golf. People, get your mind out the gutter, man. Anyhow, you know the kind of people that listen to this. You know they kind of twisted
I
anyway.
know
We listen
what
to
they're
us, so I had to make sure I clarify.
I know what you're thinking.
That
I can
we
see
hit
you.
9 holes this weekend. Anyhow, see, man, we always get squirreled off.
See,
Dude.
the
But anyhow,
putt holes, not the boot holes. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
no, no, yeah. And so there's the individual purpose of the man, then there's the collective purpose of men. And last weekend I was over buddy's house, and my man Everett just a couple weeks ago said, "Hey man, I'm having this thing. I'm bringing some guys together, and we're gonna do blah 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 blah, and just kind of chop it up." And he had cigars, man. He had, I mean, et cetera. He had a chef cooking in his kitchen, brunch, all this other kind of stuff,
Doing
man.
it
And then
big.
I found myself like in a room full of wolves, and nobody was trying to eat each other. Like it was just positive. The vibe was just uplifting. We talked about style. We talked about generational change. We talked about community change. And I was like, man, this is the kind of stuff that I'm talking about, man, where we can come together and men collectively can be the tide that comes in. And when that tide comes in, all boats rise. Communities get better. Houses get better. Homes get better. Families get better. Churches get better, organizations get better, workplaces get better. You name it, a lot of problems get solved when men come together and when men get on the same vibe. And it ain't about competing. It ain't about who's got more of this, who's got more of that. Like when we all win, we all win. So there's the individual purpose, then there's the collective purpose of men.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the reasons that being on a team and being in sports is so good for young men is because it's not about the competition; it's about the teamwork, and they learn the teamwork. And I know, I don't know the reason why. I just know the facts of the situation nowadays. There is an outright war on healthy masculinity on men, and so it's
Mm-hmm.
incumbent on us to spread the message to get guys like you who maybe are struggling a little bit, who are, or maybe you've begun your path and you just need support to join with us so that we can be that tide to raise those ships, because it is just, it's not healthy out there. It's not a good place to be, especially if you're a guy. And so guys coming together, creating those teams, creating that wolf pack, and being able to support each other in their purposes is what's going to, I think, turn the ship around and make this world a better place. Plus, trigger alert, ladies.
Uh-oh.
I know you want a man with purpose, but you cannot be your man's purpose. You want to find a man who has a bigger purpose than himself. He has a bigger purpose than maybe even you, but maybe it's a family, maybe it's a business, maybe it's changing the world, but you cannot be his purpose. You could be joining his purpose. Ideally, you want to be the biggest supporter in his purpose, but you cannot be his purpose, because I'm sure you've had the experience of having a guy who did his best to make you his sole purpose, and stalker, it was not cool. Very unhealthy.
And that's huge. That's fair. I'm gonna allow somebody to sit in that trigger for a minute and be offended because I mean because I want to plug in here that us as the Mad Men and Masculinity on Mad Men Radio 1220 AM, KLDC here in the Mile High City, Saturdays
On
at 8
Facebook.
a.m., Wednesdays at 6 p.m., Facebook, YouTube, interwebs, everywhere. This is purpose for us, and this is and so we're looking for the partners. We want to be part of that thing, that flood, that tide that comes in, and have these conversations that not a lot of people are having openly. We're not red pill, we're not anti this, and we're not like men domination and or any of that kind of stuff. We're not kind of way over in the manosphere space, but we're also not the soft and gentle. We're having conversations, that healthy men, that good men with some kind of purpose should be having. And so this is part of our purpose. And so back to what you just said, I just want to throw in that little 30-second plug,
Little hashtag.
little hashtag. But yeah, the whole idea of a woman not being a man's purpose, I believe she can be part of his purpose and she can come along his purpose. But if his sole thing is living for her, it's doomed to fail because she's going to have good days and bad days. She's not going to always affirm or whatever. She is, somewhat temporary. Even super producer Nikki Nicole says that'd be exhausting to be someone's. Absolutely, because you would have to live up to that. And I think if there's a lady that's mildly offended by that somebody would say you can't be the purpose, you have to sit back and think about, like she said, what's the pressure behind that of being on somebody's mantle. You'll lose respect for him. I mean, he's got to have something that outlives him, something that you can look at him and admire and respect. It's really hard to respect a man that's not living in some kind of purpose. It's easier to submit to a man that is living on purpose and submits to something greater than himself. And so from a relationship perspective, women, this is why it's important to you.
Yeah. And we talked about it last night on the radio. The fact, ladies, if you are not with a man with purpose, maybe in the dating process, you might want to ask, hey, what's your purpose? What's your
Yeah.
why? What gets you out of bed in the morning? And we're not talking about the dusty old, what do you do for a living? What's your
Yeah.
sign? No, let's get real, let's
Nah.
get deep. Let's get down
Yeah.
into what fires you up, what gets you out of bed in the morning. And if he doesn't
Yeah.
have that, if he can't answer that
Yeah.
clearly and concisely, maybe you would say, let me check back with you in a few months, go work on that or something. Or I don't, maybe don't do it like that, that might be a little rude. But that's something to look at, because if he has his purpose, that means number one, he's going to be able to stand up to a lot of life's
Yeah.
challenges because he knows
Mhm.
his direction, he has his compass. He's going to be able
Yeah.
to stand up to even your mood swings, because we all know that all of us have moods, and ladies sometimes have swings, and some
Mhm.
guys can take it, some guys can't. If he's living
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
purpose, most likely he could probably take it, because he's
Mhm.
not putting all his eggs in that one basket of your relationship. He's not so committed to you being happy 24/7 that he's driving you crazy because you're his purpose. He's going to make sure you're
Yeah.
the number one and everything.
Yeah.
So making sure, find a man that has his purpose and that he has other men. He's around other men that has purpose. So maybe call to action, if you are dating a man and he's not quite sure on his purpose, find a group like B Men, or another group that is men working on men, working around men that are men on purpose. I guarantee he may find that purpose, or he may at least start digging in the garden to dig up his chest of gold and find out what his
Yeah.
why is.
Yeah, and then and you do get the kind of the core of a man when you do ask him that. And again, if you're in a dating relationship perspective, especially in the early stages, if he doesn't know, if he can't answer that question, well, if you've been with a man for a little bit, you already know if he has any kind of purpose in his life or not. Like, where he spends his time, where he spends his money, and who he does those things with. And so that's something that you can tell after you've been with him for a while. But if you're just meeting a man, it is completely appropriate to ask him on one of the early dates, just casually, you give me, like, what's your purpose? I mean, because otherwise you're wasting your time if he gives you the dummy look. If he starts picking his nose and just,
Huh?
gives you that stupid look like your kids when you ask them who left that much, juice in the thing. When he gives you that kind of look, then you're wasting your time. I mean, don't even waste your time, because a man without purpose is going to try to fill that with something, and you're not enough to fill that purpose void in his life and in his soul.
Yeah. And back to you guys, I mean, when it comes to purpose, when it comes to finding what it is that lights you up, the reason why you want to find your purpose, if you haven't found it, if you're like, I don't know why I need a purpose. I got money, I got a job. Well, money isn't the end all be all, and to the point of if you watch Gary Vee at all, he talks quite a bit about, he knows a lot of these millionaires and top one percenters and stuff, and a lot of them are miserable because they've set their goals so high, they've set the bar so high, and they've got to keep
Mm-hmm.
obtaining, they've got to keep generating more money and more revenue, more income, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no balance to their lives. Most
Yeah.
one of the, I think it was Grant Cardone told a story. He had he's building like a $50 million house. And he's stressed out. And he's losing his mind, and he walks in and like the drywall guys are sitting there just laughing and having their lunch and singing, and they're completely content and satisfied because they're living on purpose. They know their purpose. They know their why. They know that they're working for their families. They know why they're in there doing that, and they know what their skill set is. You know, then they will, this is, I'm good at this, and this is what I can do, and they're sharing it with their friends. And so the guy who's building the house with all the money is stressed out and crazy and miserable, and the guys building the house are just content and happy. So
Yeah.
the money and the accumulation of objects is not going to fulfill you. Living on purpose will fulfill you. And not only will it fulfill you, it'll give you direction, it'll give you foundation, and most likely it'll find you a good woman who can see the light that you shine. Because when, it's like when women are pregnant, they say, "Oh, you're glowing." Well, when a man's on purpose, he's on fire, he's glowing. There's that light in him that all women can see.
In the same way, a woman cannot be his purpose. Quite honestly, in my opinion, a career can't be your purpose. I mean, a job. I'm going to say a job because sometimes your purpose can be your profession. In our cases, we both have Clark Kent. We both have day jobs, right? And so this is our purpose. Like neither one of us are making any money to this. Like this is not paying our mortgage per se, off of doing this. So this is for us purpose outside of our profit. So a man can have profit and purpose, but at the same time, if it is just about a job and that kind of stuff, jobs will let you down, man. Jobs will disappoint you. But when you find that purpose, man, that fills a space in you that nothing else can fill, and it will give you a sense of contentment. It will give you a sense of whatever. And we talked about the dating relationship thing. Men, if you meet a woman who cannot at all support you in your purpose, that's a red flag as well. I mean, that's one of those like, okay, bye, thank you, bye, girl, bye, Felicia. Where she needs to be able to. I'm not saying come work for you and all this other kind of. That's your purpose. That's not hers. But at the same time, if she can at least respect the fact that you have purpose in your life and is not willing to come alongside you and to at least partner or encourage or support you in that. It might not be hers, but it support you in that. That's a clear red flag. A clear
Yeah.
red flag in those early dating stages.
I actually had a girlfriend when I first started doing speaking, when I first started booking gigs and getting on stage, that was there at that time. I think it was like 2011, 2012, something like that. And afterwards, I'm all jazzed up. I had a great set. I had a great presentation. And then afterwards on the ride home, she's like, "Why can't I do that? I want to get up on stage. And I was like, "Ooh, red flags. Ooh, red flags." Because it wasn't
Yeah,
about support. It was like, "Ooh,
yeah.
you're getting the
Competition.
attention. Now I want the
Yeah,
attention. Yeah, I want to
yeah.
be the one doing that." And it was like, "Oh, Lord have mercy."
Hmm.
So if you got somebody in your life doing that, that's supposedly supporting you,
Yeah.
might want to rethink that, because support looks different. Like a lot of times coming together, especially if you have your purpose as a guy and your woman is supports of that, a lot of times you're both coming in with your strengths. Now, say, like, use that example. If I'm the one doing the speaking and doing the workshops and being on stage, and she's like really good at the behind the scenes stuff and the booking and all the logistics that go on to that, that's something you guys can build together. You can do together. However, if it's like the competition thing, don't even bother, because it's just going to turn into another fight, and both
Yeah.
of you are going to be miserable.
Yeah. No woman will say she doesn't want to be supported in her career if she has one, or in her family, in her role as mom, and all these other kind of things. And so it's not a foreign concept. The idea of a man having purpose, and most women, probably way more than 51 out of 100, will firmly admit that there's something very sexy, a huge turn on by a man that is living in purpose. That a man
Mm-hmm.
that is on purpose, that is trying to change the world in some kind of way. So there's something about that kind of man to a woman that is. I mean, that's something that makes her gravitate towards him. And so it's not selfish. if you have purpose, and to some degree your purpose is the tip of the spear, it's not selfish at all. If you have some level of I'm going to say expectation of her to at least allow you the space to do those kinds of things. Maybe she doesn't want to join you at the speaking event, and maybe she wants to come help you and work your table or something like that. But either way, it's like, hey, this is my passion, this is my purpose. And if she says, you go and do your thing, I'm gonna be kind of at home reading a book because that's where I like to be, then so be it. But if it's you always got to be trying to help people. You always got to be out there doing stuff for other people. Why can't you just be here rubbing my feet? I mean, no, fellas, you ain't got no time for that because no, that you need to move on if that's the case.
Yeah, well, that's just somebody who's just a black hole of need that will always suck you down. So, but it's also like
Succubus.
whatever that purpose is, whatever that fire is that you find for yourself, that's the thing that will guide you. And I know for many guys, and I know that one of the reasons that we've mentioned it before, and it's one of the things that's kind of big in the U.S. now. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide. Well,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of those things, and something that's even almost corollary is most men only live 18 months after they retire. And
Mm-hmm.
so if you don't think purpose is important, those two
Yeah.
statistics right there will show you that
Yeah.
once a man is out of the battle and he's back home and he's away from his brothers, he doesn't have that battle to fight, or he's retired, he doesn't have that career anymore, and he doesn't feel that purpose in his life, or that something where he's needed. A lot of times that leads to him either taking himself out or just dying
Yeah.
early, because purpose is the fuel to us. Purpose is the fire in our bellies. Purpose is the thing that makes us men. It really gives us that passion and that power to move forward. So if you feel like, and I know I can speak from my experience, I have felt that way for a long time. I'm like, I should be doing more, but I'm just so tired and I just don't have any energy, and I work all day, and you know what? We're doing our 9 to 5 and our
Yeah.
5 to 9. We're doing
Mm-hmm.
both because I look forward to this. I can
Yeah.
go work 10, 12 hours like I did today, driving all over the state, and then come back here and jump online and get to do this. This is exciting for me. And that's because it's
Yeah.
my purpose. It's because it's my fire. You can find that as well if you haven't found it. And I can guarantee you when you find it, all those things that you've been missing, whether it's energy, whether it's direction, whether it's get up and go or motivation, or whether it's even a relationship, those things will come, but your purpose has to come first.
Yeah. I've been at a place where I didn't think I should live to see the next day. I've been in that moment. I had my dark night of the soul moment, and I'm probably, I was 3 or 4 pounds of pressure on my fingertip from not being here having this conversation. But can you imagine had I not? I mean, if I didn't go through that, my son would not have had a father for the past however many years since then. I mean, my daughters would. I mean, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we wouldn't be having this conversation. There wouldn't be people that say that I've contributed to their life in some kind of way. I wouldn't have dope relationship like I do now. So many things where I didn't have a why for the next day, and sometimes just the why for the next day, just for the why for today, can give you a reason to see the next day, no matter what is going on today. And so, having those moments, man, is crucial and it is key. And especially when we do get into these ages and stages of life, 40s, 50s, all that kind of stuff, man, where it's like, you start to reevaluate the second half of life,
Uh-huh.
and recount all the places you failed and come up short from where you thought you would be 30 years ago to now, and all this other kind of stuff. And so it's incumbent upon us as men to have purpose and get purpose and be in purpose and on purpose
Uh-huh.
on a daily basis, if nothing else, because when all of those doubts come in, and when you have the lonely nights, and when you have all that kind of stuff, man, you got to have something to come back to as a touchstone for your why for tomorrow.
Yeah. And if you want to take steps to find your purpose, or even to, if you're not sure, you don't even know which direction to go, think about something you need and go give that. Think, if you're lonely and you know somebody else that you know is lonely, call them up, go join with them. If you're hungry, if you're tired, if you just need support, go give that. Go give whatever you need. You will receive it in return, but you'll also receive it multiplied because you're giving it to someone else. And in that process, I guarantee you that one step, you don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. That one step will lead you down the road. Because I know on my journey back in, shoot, what was that, 2005, 2000, I don't know. a while ago was when I first kind of got the spark. Like maybe I could be a writer, maybe I could be a speaker, and then
Mm.
so I went started where I was at, and then that led to this, that led to that. That led is this winding path, and then now I'm here doing podcasts and radio shows and hanging out with my main man Kirk and feeling on fire.
Mm.
And so if you're not sure where to start, if you're just like I don't know, find something that
Yeah.
maybe you need, you need, and give that to somebody else. Connect with another dude, and maybe both of you can get on the path of purpose and go find another group or start a group. If you can't find a group, start a group about men on purpose, and that will lead you down the path to you finding what is actually your purpose.
Yeah.
And
Every superhero has a backstory, man.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
and actually my son just got that tattooed on his arm. Last week. Anyhow, squirrel. In
Wait,
that
what
we
did he
have
do to his arm?
he got every superhero has a sad backstory. Um,
Oh,
and so,
okay.
I
Sorry.
mean, I guess he heard me say that at some point, and he was kind of that's his kind of I don't know motto or something. But anyhow,
Okay. Makes sense to
so
me.
there are obstacles that we've had in our life, and those are great places for you to start in terms
Mhm.
of that purpose, because there's a lot of other people that went through the exact same thing, and they all think they're the only ones on an island.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be big, it doesn't have to be huge. It doesn't have to be immediately. I'm going to quit my job and go do this and that. Like you said, we do 9 to 5 and 5 to 9. Our profit pays for our purpose, really. And so or allows us to do it, at least in this short term, until we can do our purpose full time.
Yeah.
But those obstacles that we had in our life, man, are just huge things to indicate, almost to be the breadcrumb for the path that leads us to our purpose, man, whatever that is.
Yeah, and sometimes it could be just looking back on your childhood. I know, I mean, if you haven't read or listened to the Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker, his childhood was horrific. But because of his childhood, now he's the trainer for like the FBI, the CIA, police departments about threat management, threat assessment, and to know when somebody's actually going to commit violent acts or not. And
Mm-hmm.
that came from his childhood, and that's his purpose, obviously. Maybe look back on your childhood and just go, I mean, this was my whole first book was about the power of perspective and looking at your life like, what if I chose this? What if I chose these parents? What if I chose to be born at this time with these parents and have these experiences? Those are the things, whether you chose them or not, or you could even, entertain that idea. Those are the things that made you who you are. Those are the things that programmed the inner you, the little you, your mindset. So look at those things and go, well, what has this taught me? What can I take? And I guarantee you, if you look at those things, something's going to pop up and go, well, I really care about this thing because of my past. This thing really is, gives me passion. I feel this is sacred and I'm passionate about that. And that's the direction to go in. You go in that
Yeah.
direction, you will definitely be on the path to finding your purpose.
I mean, it came to surface for me around fourth grade that I have troubles reading. Letters and numbers flip around when I read, and it gets. I mean, it's really, really, really frustrating and difficult for me to read. I didn't read my first book cover to cover until I was 35 years old. And yet, at somehow, I'm the author of a couple books. This one, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, one of them being credited to me as an Amazon bestseller. I'm not saying that to boast. My point, though, is that we are doing our best to live all of these things that we are encouraging other people to do. We're not. We're here on a Facebook, YouTube stream. Me and my little, ugly pixelated picture right now. Anyway, it's ugly. It ain't pretty, but we're out here doing it. We're out here, just having there's small beginnings everywhere, and we can't
Yep.
despise our small beginnings. But these are the kind of things that we're purposing to live out in our day to day life, and that's why we want to encourage you, men.
Yeah. I mean, it's the one thing that you may have been missing. I know it was one thing I was missing, and Kirk could probably say the same thing. And once you find that thing, or at least get on the path, you find that yellow brick road, you're heading to the Emerald City. That journey is amazing. That journey will teach you
Mm.
so much about yourself. And once you find that purpose, it will fire you up, and it will be the biggest gift you give for yourself. And it's
Yeah.
not about being perfect because, like he
Mm-hmm.
was saying, we are still on our journey. We are still works in progress, and there's no perfect over here. But I
Mm-hmm.
guarantee you, when you find your purpose, you will leg up. I was a big
Mm-hmm.
perfectionist. A lot of my self sabotage came from my perfectionistic mindset. If I don't think I can do it right, I'm just not going to do it at all. And now I don't care. I'm gonna go
Yeah.
face first in the wall if I got to,
Yeah.
and just keep, just as long as I keep this thing moving,
Yeah.
because this is the first thing, the only thing that really gets me going in the morning and gets
Hmm.
me out of bed, because it is what I'm passionate about. And if you are not feeling that, if you're not feeling inspired, it's time to make finding your purpose. It's got to be the
Yeah.
first thing your number one goal, because that will change everything. If you got to take 3 to 6 months or a year off and quit going out and keep the dollar bills in your pocket, and stop hanging out with your knucklehead friends, and focus on you, and switch to finding a group of men who are on purpose, and getting a part of groups, it's gonna be the best gift you ever give yourself, especially as a man who wants to be a high value man, a man of purpose, and a man with a vision who wants to make his dent in the world.
Mm. So let's visualize the runway right now, and let's bring this thing in on runway 23 left, runway Mad Men right. I don't know what it is, but so yeah, I mean, so how do we summarize this thing, man? Where do we land on this thing?
I think for me, it's just realizing that it's not a silly, empty thing to say that men need purpose. And if you haven't found your purpose yet, that needs to be your number one goal, because whatever it is you think you've been missing, I bet you will find it in your purpose. And your purpose will be unique to you. It may be very similar to a lot of other men, but yours is unique to you because you are unique. And
Yeah,
I think that should be your number one goal right now, is to find your purpose. You don't have it, and then find other men with purpose, because then you can be the tide that raises all those ships. How about you,
yeah.
sir?
Man, us as men, we need a man purpose. We need a personal purpose. Mine, I got a mission statement: with strength, wisdom, gentleness, and mercy, I co-create a world of intimacy and unconditional connection by teaching and inspiring 1 million men how to live free from internet pornography. That's my personal mission statement. And
Mic drop.
boom, mic is dropped. But that's my personal mission statement, and everything I do is not specifically to that, to that word for word. But for me, all of this is a platform to help the next guy in any kind of way that I can. But either way, that's my personal mission statement. Us as men, we need a man personal mission statement. We also need a men collectively personal mission, in terms of what are we doing collectively as men? How are we advancing the ball for this generation? We're not storming the beaches at Normandy. There's world peace. There's, relatively speaking, world peace. The world is probably one of the safest it's been, in generations. So what is our claim to fame as a generation of men? And then ladies, in terms of your connection with a man, he needs to have purpose. That purpose can't be you. And if you're not willing to support him in that purpose, then you probably need to question, are you selfish enough that his purpose, you think you want his purpose to be you, even though you would lose respect for him and ultimately probably dump him, if that's the case. Yeah, Mike, we did break 100, dude. We got our
Yeah, we're about
own,
150 now, I think.
yeah,
It's
youtube.com/, I
Mad
think
Men
it's
of
slash C,
Masculinity.
but it's Mad Men of
Slash C, that's just
Masculinity,
for
baby.
channel, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
so anyhow, that's good stuff, man.
Speaking
That's what I
of,
think, man.
I think, drop a comment, drop a like, let us know. We're thinking about doing a episode on mission statements for you men who want to be on purpose and want to maybe make your own mission statement. Let us know if that sounds good to you. Give us a like, drop us a hell yeah, and we'll put that on the schedule, because I think
Yeah.
that would be a great thing for us to add in.
Break yourself,
And
fool. And with that, Mad Men out.
out.